Welcome to the next in the Back Porch Banters series. Today, I am honored to be speaking with Janice Robinson, North Carolina's Red, Wine, and Blue representative and coordinator. Red, Wine, and Blue was instrumental in forcing the Trump administration to return stolen education funds to empower our children and our future. On a side note, this interview does not mean an endorsement for Red, Wine, and Blue. They are a nonpartisan agency empowering women to work in their own communities. But it does mean a great chance to learn a lot. Let's get it going and see what Janice has to say. You're helping run this large organization. You've got a lot of volunteers, a lot of energy, and a lot of issues to go after. How do you kind of figure out what to do, what to go after, and how do you not get overwhelmed? How do you keep yourself moving, keep yourself focused? Because I see that in you, and I'm impressed by it. So I always want to kind of pick up tips for myself
Oh,
as
well, thank you
as
so
I learn
much.
more about politics.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that question. Red, wine, and blue, we operate from the bottom up, not the top down. So everything that we do is centered around the women in their communities. So what we do, our strategy is to, and our whole mission is to amplify the voices of women around the issues important to them in their community. So we're
Mm,
empowering women how to be a powerhouse around the issues important to them. So
that's
when
perfect.
when there are issues that they care about, our focus is to help empower them on how to have an impact on those issues. And we know that the power is locally. And we believe, and I've always believed this, that if people are empowered locally, and they experience power locally, because we have an opportunity to have a greater impact, especially when it comes to impacting elections on the local
Mhm.
level. So
Absolutely.
many city council, board of county commissioners, school boards, state house and senate races are often decided on as few as 150. Shoot, that was a in more in Monroe.
Yeah.
That was a race decided by coin toss. It was,
Wow.
yeah, they got the even numbers,
Yeah.
and it was a coin toss. And then there was a race down in Hope County that was decided by one vote. So we want the women in our network to understand that they have power and then how to implement that power. When people experience political power locally, they will vote up the ballot. But too many times the focus is only on the national elections. And so
Right.
our whole focus is empowering women locally in their local communities, amplifying their voices, giving them tools and resources
Yeah.
to do that. And then as a collective, we all
Uh-huh.
vote, make sure we get people in office who are, well, who share our values and so
Yeah.
forth. So when it comes
Absolutely.
to issues, and circle right back to that issue, the
Uh-huh.
question. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
women tell us what issues are important to them.
That's
There are
great.
some kind of like four major ones that kind of, as a collective across the country, that seems to be consistent. And that's around abortion rights,
Uh-huh.
public schools, anti discrimination against the
Mhm.
LGBTQ community and against the Black community,
Yeah.
and gun safety. But there are
Mhm.
many others that the women in our network care about. And so we just make sure we work on giving them resources and training so they can have an impact around any issue that they're concerned about.
That's great. I'd like to circle around a little bit to your discussion of local versus national politics. That I
Mhm.
think people make the mistake of underestimating the power of local politics where things actually happen. We get so focused on these presidential races, these big Senate races, and we miss the nuts and bolts of how our government actually works. Can you
Mhm.
give me kind of some examples of places where you've been able to push things in a good direction with local action, regardless of some of the national policy that sometimes is going in the wrong direction?
Yeah, well, in particular, we focus on we uh, really training our women how to even think about the municipal races.
Hmm.
Here I live in Charlotte, and here in Mecklenburg County, our last municipal race had only a 15% turnout.
Oh my goodness.
15%.
Wow.
And so I believe that there's an opportunity to use the municipal races to increase the voter turnout in
Yeah.
these municipal races. Again,
Uh-huh.
going from empowering people locally.
Yes.
And so, if more people come out to vote in the municipal races, especially those who are less engaged,
Yeah.
I believe they will be primed for
Absolutely.
2026.
Yes,
So
absolutely. That's great.
we are organizing and working 365 days a year. So we are training and educating,
Yes.
getting information out 365 days
Yes.
a year to our troublemakers, and having them get that information to their friends, family, and acquaintances too. And
I feel like
so that's one example of what we're doing.
I feel like as politicians, our strategists tend to encourage us to focus on that 3 months preceding the election. They're like, this is
Wrong.
where it's wrong. I'm with you. I'm running ads right now against Chuck Edwards. I'm publicizing the messages right now of how bad the big ugly bill is, how bad Trump's overreach against the Constitution is, how bad
Uh-huh.
alligator Alcatraz is. We need to get this word out all the time because the Republicans are doing the same. The conservative side, the propaganda machine that they have backed by their
Oh
billionaire
gosh.
sponsors is attacking us 24/7, 365 days a week. And if we just sit back and get the crap kicked out of us for 300 days a year and we're only active that 60, we're just going to keep losing.
It's funny because I realized it was 12 years ago. Red, Wine, and Blue got started after Trump was first elected in 2016.
Mhm.
These suburban women up in Ohio, when they realized that these white suburban women, had been attributed to his win, kind of did the oh hell no. Started
Mhm.
This little group of women started meeting in their living rooms, over wine, and started
Uh-huh.
talking about how they could
Yeah.
change the world. And
Yeah.
so
Wine, women, and power.
so Katie Paris, who's the founder of Red, Wine, and Blue, heard about these women, went down and met with them, and basically gave them the name Red, Wine, and Blue. and
Yes.
so,
I like
and there's
that.
some other rationales behind that name too, and what we're doing with the name.
Yeah.
And I realized that I too, after 2016, kind of got motivated in my own community down here in Charlotte and Valentine, and started doing what I could to. I remember I went to a Democratic Party meeting. I mean, to
Yeah.
this day, I don't even know how I found out about it. And it was an officers meeting, and I had two questions for them. What are you all going to do, and how can I help? And and I tell you, and then starting to get involved with the Democratic Party, and just started because I've always been a political junkie ever since Reagan days. That's how far back I go.
Mhm.
And
Nice.
I was a McLaughlin girl. I used to watch McLaughlin Group. Most people on who watch this one don't even know what that is. And so, but anyway, but one thing I found in 12 years ago, that wow, it looks like the Republican Party had a short-term, long-range strategy, 5, 10, 20, 30-year strategy.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that on the Democratic side or the progressive
Right.
side. And you cannot just expect people to get engaged and galvanized 30, 60 days before the election. Plus,
Mhm.
they begin to be very cynical and
Mhm.
skeptical of really your motivation. I'll never
Mhm.
forget trying to organize
Yeah.
some precincts over in the Black community, and talking to the
Uh-huh.
little elderly Black lady. It
Yeah.
still burns in my brain. I hear her so clearly when she said to me, "Well, we don't hear from them until it's time for us to vote." And she was talking about people that look like me, city local officials,
Mhm.
city local electeds
Right.
that look like me too.
Right.
So people catch on to that, and I think a lot of people feel like, what, hey, these people, they don't want our vote. They don't really want to help
Mhm.
really listen to us
Yeah.
and help change our communities.
Yeah.
And we
Jeff
can get into
Jackson
that.
is doing a campaign to fix that. It's relatively small, but
What's that again? What is that?
Jeff Jackson is doing
Oh,
a
okay.
lighthouse program in
Hmm.
between elections advertising program that he's separately raising money for to try to do
Hmm.
exactly that, to keep our
Oh,
outreach
really?
going
Okay. I hadn't heard
continually.
about that.
I'm doing the
Good to hear.
same. There's a lot of other candidates doing the same, and I hope that we can start a trend of, even though it costs money, even though it means more fundraising for us, of getting the message out more consistently. Also wanted to ask, with your extensive experience, how unique is the current setting? I feel like it's unique, but it's partly because I'm new to politics. I feel like there is a palpable energy running through America, Western North Carolina, that we can harness for change. I feel like there's more of it than there used to be. I feel like it's different. I feel like there's more energy towards reaching across the aisle. When I talk to Republicans, even Trump fans, they say the extremes
Mm.
are bad on both sides and we need to meet
Hmm.
in the middle. I
Hmm.
feel more of that energy now than I ever have. Do you feel that too, or is it just because I'm new to it that I'm feeling it when I haven't before?
Well, you know what? So Red, White, and Blue, we are nonpartisan. We always have been.
Yeah.
And we have about a 20%, the women, 20, 25% of the women in our network, are conservative women.
That's great. That's
And
huge.
so, and then
Yeah.
between about 50% were conservative and independent women. And
Yeah.
so we always been nonpartisan, and we've always, because we organize around messages,
Hmm.
we organize around issues and not partisanship. And so
Excellent.
what we are finding is that there are many women on the conservative side who want their freedom to choose what they do with their bodies themselves, or they want public
Yeah.
schools. What gets
Yes.
amplified, and because
Uh-huh.
certain groups are just, the extremists are so good at capturing and the media are culprits in this, giving them too
Yes.
much attention about
Yes.
these extreme issues that a lot of times the feelings of the majority of us in the country gets
Mhm.
drowned out. And so
Yeah.
that's why we do a lot of it. We have a very strong comms team. It's a very strong, heavy social media presence, because we're communicating, trying to get the message, this information out across partisan lines to women. And the only tactic we use is friend to friend organizing. It's called relational organizing in the industry, but friend to friend organizing is the only tactic we use in getting information out. And so women are sharing this information, talking to their friends, family, and acquaintances, regardless of what's alphabet is behind their names. And people are the best source of information to their friends, family, and acquaintances, to
And
cut
I
through the
think,
noise. And so,
yes, I
so in
think,
answer to your question to that, you know
yeah.
what, I don't know. We'll see. We'll
Okay.
see.
But
I know
you don't
there
see a
is a
major
lot of.
difference. You feel like what we're seeing now as far as the energy level, the excitement for change, the willingness to bridge the divide. You don't see this as unique to now.
Well, so I'm gonna tell you, after 2016, where there were people were in the streets, all the pussy hats and everything that happened. And then we put Trump back in office. So we are fighting like hell, red, white, and blue, to do our part to educate, empower across political lines,
Yes.
and helping people to understand the issues and be able to have the information that they need. Like we have an extensive project 2025 uh, uh, deck that we have on our website, so people can
Yep.
understand this stuff. And so,
Yes.
so we'll see. Right now, just as a person who's been at this for 12 years, and I
Yeah.
started organizing in North Carolina for Red, White, and Blue 4 years ago.
Hmm.
And so we'll see. I, and I'll tell you, I say this to you. I don't spend a lot of time watching the news, especially network news, even some of I canceled cable news a long time ago, because it's so too many times it's about the clicks, and them
Hmm.
just spreading,
Yep.
spreading stuff, and what we see happening on the ownership of these stations, these networks.
Yep.
And there's so much propaganda out there. So you know what? I am
Yes.
putting my hope in what the people will do. That's where I'm putting my hope in. And so
Absolutely.
what we the people will do, and that's what I mobilize around, empowering people
Yeah.
and across political lines. And so we'll see. I'm glad to see that there are some conservatives
So
speaking up
as a
about some of
side
the
note,
crazy
what do you
stuff, but we'll
think?
see.
Well, as a side note, what do you think about um, disempowering the parties and the extremes with a single election, no primary, ranked choice voting, some system to prevent there from being 100 people on the ballot, but otherwise, ranked choice voting, one election. That way, you wouldn't have this winner take all Democrat versus Republican dominating politics. You'd instead have people actually representing their district and their area because they'd have to. They couldn't come in
Mhm,
under a Democratic banner and win and get all this backing and be one of two candidates. They would literally have to go to actually supporting their constituency.
mhm. Well, I think if that forcing, if it would force candidates to actually go and try and listen to all of their constituents,
Yes,
that would be
yes.
great. But I don't know. I have to study that out. I would have to read and study that
Yeah.
out more.
I just feel
Because
like it's a large part of our division is the primary system itself.
yeah, well, I have some issues with that too.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit now kind of jaded on a lot of this stuff.
I bet. You've been in it a whole lot longer than I
I am,
have.
and I'm frustrated. I tell people I am an angry Black woman, and if I
Good.
wasn't angry, I'd be insane right now.
Exactly.
I'm frustrated
Exactly.
with a
We're
lot
putting
of
an end to
the
this without
systems
emotion.
and so forth. And because I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you, as a Black woman, and what I see what happened in our community, a lot of times, and I say this openly to the Democratic Party progressives. many people, many marginalized communities feel like their lives haven't changed, whether it was a Republican or a Democrat in office. So the
Yep.
thing about it, there you have to be willing to go and listen to people and hear what are their issues, and then give them a seat at the table of
Yes.
power. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about now in these parties.
Right.
And so as long as and when people need to if you really want to win elections, you need to listen to the people. And so, whether or not a ranked choice voting, or some of that will work, I don't know. I would have to go back and study and just kind of see the data and stuff on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
And
just
I
an
haven't
idea
done
I
that
have
yet.
where, to me, it is a major source of division where you can't necessarily run a truly central candidate. Like I'm definitely Democrat. I'm left leaning on a lot of individual things, but I'm also
Mhm,
central on a lot of others, and I am in
mhm,
danger of losing this Democratic primary because of certain issues where I am reflecting the true will of Western North Carolina.
mm,
So just using me as an example, I've seen it happen in previous elections for this particular race where candidates who I felt had a more central message, a stronger message that could appeal to Western North Carolina were shut out
mhm,
in the primary. And so we
mhm,
instead had a candidate who was just as extreme on the other side as our
mhm,
primary candidate, where we
mhm,
probably also lost an opportunity to have a more moderate conservative coming in as well. I
mhm,
think too
mhm,
that Congress would work better together if we didn't have the party labels and if
mhm,
we truly were elected by the people and not by the parties.
mhm. Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. Absolutely. I agree with that. Isn't that what we're supposed to be? We the people,
Exactly. I think too
and
that
so,
there's a lot of intentional division. There is, as you said, kind of the clickbait, the extremes that get advertising money. But I believe there are internal and external forces who are stoking our division
oh
to
yeah.
make us easier to control, to make the billionaire class more powerful. There are absolutely Russian and Chinese influences pushing the extremes of the left and the right. As I trace things back, I see Russian and Chinese influence pushing some of these really strong liberal statements that piss off
Mhm,
conservatives and vice
mhm,
versa. And their
mhm,
goal is not to
mhm.
push one side of their goal is to weaken us.
Yes,
And so I
totally
think,
agree.
yeah, I think we need to unite,
Agree.
and that is my primary goal as a candidate, is to preach
And
that and to unite us as people.
and so I totally agree that's what's happening. And we've been manipulated through propaganda and on the social media and so forth and stuff. And so it comes down to, okay, wow, how do you cut through that? How do you cut through
Mhm.
that and get the
Yes.
information to the more masses of people so that
Mhm.
they understand and how to and because I'm a big believer and I'm an educator too. I'm a big believer that educated voters will be more consistent voters. That's why 365 days we're
Mhm.
trying to educate our
Yes.
the women in our network. We have a Trouble Maven
Absolutely.
Academy where we're training them about how all of this work. So they're
Mhm.
more educated, and we set it up as a train the trainer model so they can go out and train their friends, family, and acquaintances. Educated voters will be more consistent voters, and there'll be smart voters. But I totally agree. There's forces, I think, on both sides to try to keep people dumb. Look at what they're doing, trying to get rid of history. If they in
Good
education,
grief. Oh.
if people are uneducated, they will be more able to be manipulated. So, but
Mhm.
the answer, the way I would like to focus
Absolutely.
on is, okay, what is the solution? What are some tactics to fight against it? And I believe is getting information into the hands of people as fast as we can, and people trust the people that they know. So that's why the
Yes.
only tactic we use is friend to friend organizing. We have over 750,000 women in our network across the country, over 37,000 here in North Carolina. And so with every one of them, we're saying, take this information, take it to your friends, family, and acquaintances.
Yes.
Hopefully people will
Absolutely.
do it.
And that's beautiful because that is the way to do it. I mean, I know when I'm talking to my neighbor who
Mm-hmm.
voted for Trump, we have real conversations and we
Mm-hmm.
learn things from each other and we respect each
Mm-hmm.
other. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm in some conversation online about politics, people are just throwing stones at each other. It's the same people. If we were just
Mm-hmm.
talking to each other, we would do so much better. And so my
Yeah.
big question is, how do we scale that up? I feel like Mom Donnie did a good job with that, with having all these videotaped conversations, with asking people what they wanted, with delivering to the voters specific policy ideas to give them what they
Mm-hmm.
want and what they need. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the many things that I'm trying to model and kind of instill into my campaign, that we need to talk to people, we need to be individual, we need to be human, and we need to ask what they want and deliver it not just in vague ideas, but in actual policy. Hey, here's how I can make housing cheaper. Here's how we can make healthcare cheaper. Here's how we can lower your taxes. These are specific policies. And I'm breaking the mold of the,
Yeah. Hmm.
fence riding, say nothing, do nothing politicians. This stuff's on
Hmm.
my website. You can look at my policies, and whether you like them or not, they're there. And I
Hmm.
think,
Hmm.
there are strategists who would advise me to reveal less,
Hmm.
but it's not my nature. And I don't think
Hmm.
that politicians in general are going to heal this divide and do well if we keep hiding behind slogans and generalizations.
Hmm.
And I like
Hmm.
what you're doing is the same. You're educating, you're getting people excited, empowered on a local level with specific issues that come from them from the bottom. So that's
Hmm.
awesome.
Yeah. And everything we do is on it's out there. It's up on our YouTube. All of our virtual events is on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
All of our materials we have it out there so people can take it and go and educate their friends, family, and acquaintances. And yeah, and eh, you know, and, and I've done political consulting and so forth. And a lot of times I feel like people need to stop listening to political consultants because they're about making money. And so and I have no problem with people needing to make money to keep their lights on and their food on the table.
Exactly.
But I'm a
Exactly.
I'm a true believer when it comes to it. It's about the greater good and making sure people are taken care of. I'm a humanitarian at the core of who I am.
Hmm.
And so, regardless of what alphabet people choose to put behind their name, first and foremost, we
Hmm.
are human beings. And I believe that the majority of people pretty much want the same things, from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, on the
Yes.
bottom realm is food, shelter, and safety,
Right.
and then you go up that
Need
ladder,
love
up
and
that
belonging,
triangle. But
acceptance.
so many people, unfortunately, there are people who don't want other people to have food, shelter, and safety, or they want more of it, more of the money for themselves.
I think
You know,
people
but the
really
thing about, can
see
we
it.
not agree that everybody should have food, shelter, and safety? And I think that politicians, that needs to be their concern about making
Yes.
sure that everybody at least have food, shelter, and safety and education. And so go from that. Now I will say this: too many times, I feel too many times there's this patriarchal approach to the community, to people.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do for you. Even okay, we want to talk and hear what are the issues for you and your community. But then, then we go back and we say, okay, now I'm going to go fix your community. Even as before I ever got into the role of Red, Wine, and Blues, I started organizing my community and other communities around Charlotte in the precincts. So my attitude was always, people know what they need in their community, so they
Hmm.
don't need me to go and
Hmm.
tell them how to fix it.
Hmm.
I need to give them a seat at the table of power so we can work together on strategies to fix it and give them a
Yes.
seat at the decision making table.
Uh-huh.
Too many times, what happens is people, and this is why I think a lot of people don't come out and vote. They feel like politicians come and say, okay, well, what do you need? Then they go back. Once they get elected, they go back to the seat of power and they do whatever they want, throw a few crumbs out here to some marginalized communities.
You look out the window and you're like, yeah, the pothole's still not fixed. That traffic light still doesn't work, and I'm still paying too many taxes. Why'd I vote for that guy?
You're right. Yeah. Like I say, some people feel their lives have not changed. And it's the things that's going on in their communities. And so I think it's important for all of us to realize, women too, that, okay, we have to watch our tendency to be patriarchal and
Hmm.
manifest
Absolutely. Yeah,
patriarchy
women
and
fall
take
into it
away
as well.
people's agency and not bring people into the table to positions of power and decision making.
Hmm.
So there, everybody is at the table and helping to solve these problems. I think smart politicians will do that.
I hope so. I hope we can do that.
I hope,
I
fingers
want I want to
crossed.
revisit a couple things from this section
Sure,
of the conversation. Um,
sure.
and I'll start with you. You're mentioning that we should agree that we meet everyone's needs, that people shouldn't starve in a wealthy nation, that people should have the basic needs, the education. And this brings me back to religion and politics. I know it's a dangerous subject. I am not Christian. I don't subscribe to any specific religious. I do consider myself spiritual, and I do have an incredible degree of respect for the teachings of Jesus. And
Hmm.
with that said, it terrifies me to see the Christian nationalists telling America who God wants them to vote for and using, quote, religion and Christianity
Mhm.
as an excuse to vote for someone who I believe is about as unchristian as it gets. And that applies to Chuck and Trump equally. In my opinion, they are as
Mhm.
far from Christianity as you can get by pulling $1 billion out of Medicaid and SNAP while running the deficit up $3.3 million to give tax breaks to their rich buddies, demonizing
Mhm.
brown people, pulling money out of education. These are all very non-Christian ideals. So how do we crack that nut? How do we break that ice and get religion back on the right side of politics and get people to see their true spiritual guidance, their true connection with God, and not be led astray by this patriarchal church apparatus that has been so effective?
Mhm. Well, I can tell you, as a woman who I am a Christian, I do practice well, but I am of a Christian faith, and I am
Mhm.
really concerned. I am angry that people have taken, basically, they have hijacked Jesus and the whole
Hijack
Christian
Jesus.
community. They
Yes,
have hijacked
they
Jesus
have hijacked Jesus.
and the Christian community. And as someone who spent 4 years in full-time ministry, taught the Bible, I know the Bible, I know the scriptures. And what they're pushing, it is not
It
Christian.
is
It's
not
not.
Christian.
It's not. And people, and I'm gonna tell you how you so the question is, how do we change that? I'm gonna tell you right now, more Christian people who claim to be Christians, they need to be speaking out. They need to be speaking out and saying,
Yes,
excuse me, this is not Christian. And I'm
yes.
gonna tell you, and let me be even more specific. White Christians need to be speaking out against this stuff. Because the people in the black
Absolutely.
community, Christian, that ain't us. Now, there's a few crazy people in there too, but the majority
Right.
of the black church, we're
Mhm.
the black church as a collective speaking out against this stuff. More
Uh-huh.
white Christians, people who call themselves Christians,
Mhm.
need to be amplifying their disagreement, their disdain, and speaking
Yes.
out against this stuff. I've seen a couple of white pastors, Christian pastors, doing some powerful pushback against this Christian nationalism. But there needs to be every day. I'm a big believer in we the people.
Yeah.
We the people, everyday white Christian folks, they need to be putting some stuff on social media. They need to be out
Yes.
on the streets. They need to be putting some videos up saying, "This is
Yeah.
not Jesus. This is not
Yeah. My
Christianity."
my thought is if I were a Christian, I would be super bent out of shape about all this. And I would be stepping up to
I am.
defend my religion.
I am.
You know? The
And
other
I
thing I
put
want to
stuff out
revisit.
there and said, I'm a Christian woman and this is not Jesus. I've said
Exactly.
on my own social media, Jesus has been hijacked. They have hijacked
They
Jesus,
have hijacked. Yes, they have hijacked Jesus. I like that line.
hijacked the name of
The, the,
Jesus.
the other thing from that last bit that I want to get into is education. And,
Uh,
and this is a place where I am unabashedly and entirely all for spending more money, more resources on better education. Now, where that money comes from is important. For me, it comes from cutting tax loopholes for millionaires and billionaires, which I know how to do because I've used those same tax loopholes. But with that said, education is the foundation of our economy, of our future, of our competitiveness as a nation in the world, and it's the great equalizer. If the deepest, darkest inner city school in Detroit has a powerful, strong educational system from the word go, where kids get fed at school, they get the knowledge they need, they have teachers who care about them, they have the ratios, they have the equipment, they have just as good a shot at the American dream as my rich white buddies who grew up in this neighborhood with these well supported schools. I'm not saying to make the rich schools worse. Let's let them keep getting better. But let's make sure that every school meets a strong standard of education so that everybody gets their equal shot at the American dream.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm preaching to the choir for sure. But to me, it's crazy that it's a political issue because me, as a capitalist, as a fairly wealthy capitalist, I am for putting money into public education because I need well educated people to work for me to run my businesses. I need people who are well educated enough to make real money to buy the products I'm creating. So even if I look at it from a purely financial, selfish perspective, I want to put more tax money into education. So it baffles me that there's this huge battle of people trying to pull money out of education, which is the foundation of our economy.
Well, you have to kind of question people's motives behind that. And when you look at we red, wine, and blue, uh, we've had some guests on who have I think about its name has escaped me. We had him on talking about education, the history of what's going on with people trying to ban books and so forth. And And while I'm saying this, I'm going to be looking up his name again.
I'm going to look
Um,
up a name too, because there was something from a previous conversation that I wanted to quote properly, and I'm going to grab a name too. Here's the place for
because
it.
one thing he talked about went back to the fact of the whole banning book and trying to suppress people from being educated. Went all the way back to Jim Crow and Reconstruction days. And during Reconstruction, they did not want slaves to be educated, and so he did a through line to how a lot of these tactics have been consistent for decade after decade. And so a lot of this stuff, and I believe, and I agree, I believe too, that a lot of this is rooted in racism. Because the more you educate, there's always been a tendency to not want to educate Black and brown people, especially Black people, from since slavery days.
Hmm.
And so there's a continuation of that. And now I think that being the being so intentional that to keep a large portion of the American society uneducated will mean being able to control people more politically. And
Absolutely. It's a
and I think that
Maoist theology, and it's terrifying.
okay, okay, it's very frustrating.
It's terrifying. I mean, I think we need strength. We need education, and you're right that we need it not just for economics. We need it for citizens to participate in
Mhm.
democracy, citizens to understand how democracy works, how the economy works, how their lives are affected by the mix of those factors. We need that. We need people who are voting with knowledge, with power.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy to me to not want to educate kids. And
Right.
I'm thankful for my education. I was the first one in my college, in my family. And so we are. I have two brothers and sisters. I was the youngest. I was the first and only one of us that went to college. And so, and I don't, not to say that everybody has to go to college, but everybody needs to be educated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can at least read your prescription bottle to know you're
Yeah,
taking the right
exactly.
medication, something as
Exactly.
simple as that. But
As a
it's
side
just
note on
crazy.
that, I think that while Biden's ideas of forgiving student loans were well-meaning, and there was an element of productivity in that because
Mhm.
you make so much more money with these higher degrees in general. I think that by doing that, he alienated a lot of the tradespeople, the people who've put years of their lives into becoming a plumber, a plumber's apprentice, an electrician, and I think that that caused some elitist divide. And I think that part of our education is that we should be pushing these professions that our country needs. And we should not be saying, oh, well, you shouldn't be a plumber, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer. There's no disrespect in being a plumber. In fact, I pay my plumber more than I pay my doctor. And I'm happy to do so because my plumber keeps the poop moving downstream and keeps the water coming in the faucet. We need that. So I think that as part of our education system, we need to start moving towards these trades and moving towards high school, working directly into getting people set up for meaningful trades where they can make money right off the bat, whether they go to college or not.
I think it's just smart to look at. Well, my first 4 years of college, I got a degree in business administration. And then some years later, in my 30s, I went back and got an occupational therapy degree.
Mhm.
And I remember as I was thinking about changing my career, um, and I remember just kind of doing some research to see what was the jobs, what was the jobs in most demand. I
Mhm,
remember back
exactly.
then we did that. I'm 65 now, so let's tell you how long ago that's been.
Oh, you don't look it. Wow.
Good hair color. Got to do my roots today.
Wow. That's
And
impressive.
so back then, so it's always smart and this is kind of, I guess, it would be where people can help families who are maybe need a little bit of help. And we used to have guidance counselors who would talk to in schools. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't have any children. I'm single with no kids by choice. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening in the schools, but when I was in
Uh-huh.
school, we had guidance counselors who would kind of help us figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But I remember I looked at what's the job demands.
Right.
So it's
We
just a
had that.
smart.
We now don't because of the withheld funds and the destruction of the Department of Education. So that is something we just lost. Those guidance counselors, those mental health counselors, we just lost that on a nationwide scale.
Well, they from yesterday they got from what I heard yesterday they had went and gave the money, they have put the money back, but getting rid of the Department of Education, I guess. But my point is that it's just smart for any young person, and they need some guidance because young people don't know to think like this.
Right.
And you're thinking about a career. Wow, what's the demand, and how, what's paying good
Exactly.
money,
Yeah.
that I can make a
That's
good
where it's
living.
at.
Not everybody needs to go to a 4-year college. I've never felt that way.
Yeah,
I've been trying
absolutely.
to get my nephews. I was trying to get my nephew from years ago to go to the local technical college, get an HVAC degree
Yeah.
training, and start your own
Uh, y-
HVAC business.
yeah.
They didn't listen to me.
He should have. He'd make more money than most primary care doctors by doing that
Mhm.
if you did it
They
right.
would have. Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what supply and demand says. Because I've been looking into this. I'm a
Uh-huh.
builder.
Law,
HVAC,
supply, and demand.
HVAC's in huge demand. There's real money there.
That's right. So
I
yeah,
got
yeah. So
medicine was
that's
the
but
wrong
I just
track for me. I should have got into HVAC.
and
But
I
I
can
found,
talk about that because I've been trained. I mean, I have a degree in business, and so I know about this law, supply, and demand. Most people don't, but having counselors or having educating parents when their kids are about to get ready to go to school to about how to think about, okay, what's the demands, what's the job demands coming forward.
uh-huh.
I'm an occupational therapist. I've been in
Oh,
OT almost 30
oh,
years.
cool.
Back when I decided to change and start studying occupational therapy, I knew that OT, PT, and speech therapist was a high demand job based on baby boomers
Right. That's
coming
why I
up,
went to
and it
nursing
still
school.
is. And it
Yeah,
still is.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember looking for jobs in Asheville, wanting to live in Asheville, and looking at the job posts and saying, oh, I could be a
Mm-hmm.
truck driver or I could be a nurse. It's like, I think I'd
Mm-hmm.
get bored driving trucks all day, and I don't think I'd enjoy that. I'll go to nursing school. It was that simple for me, and I think we need that mentality of like, hey, where's the demand? Let's supply it. Let's keep the economy moving. I
Now, did you
found
go to
that,
nursing school, Chris? Did you go to
yeah, I went
nursing
to nursing
school?
school here at AB Tech.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yep.
so you're a nurse. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I'm a nurse.
cool.
Went to nurse practitioner school. Did primary
Oh,
care for a
cool.
couple of years. Did a ton of ICU work. Working
Uh-huh.
for the Department of Defense now. Working for the VA, helping veterans with their disability stuff as a medical
Oh,
provider.
awesome.
So yeah, I've been in
Awesome.
medicine forever. I love it. Love,
I didn't know
love
you were a
medicine.
fellow healthcare provider. Hey, we
All right, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, I found the note I was looking for. It was a podcast with Sean Ryan and Gavin Newsom, and I
oh,
mentioned this because we were talking about reaching across the aisle. Check
uh-huh.
this podcast out if you get a chance, even if just the
What's it
first
called again?
30 minutes. It's Sean Ryan and Gavin Newsom. So
Okay.
Sean Ryan's a conservative podcast host, and he somehow taught Gavin Newsom, the Democratic
Hmm.
governor of California, a very blue
Right.
state, into coming on his show and talking politics.
Uh-huh.
Starts off the show by giving him a gun as a gift. So here's a gift for you. This is a California certified, California legal 357. Here, welcome to the show. Let's talk about guns. A hugely divisive issue, somewhere
Uh-huh.
California is really far off from Sean
Uh-huh.
Ryan's audience, and
Uh-huh.
bangs off the conversation with that. And it is incredible the amount of agreement they had, the amount of discussion, the things they said, the things they did was absolutely amazing from pretty far across the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
So to see
Mm-hmm.
that on a national scale publicized was really encouraging to me. And this was
Mm-hmm.
sent to me by a friend of mine who votes Republican, votes conservative, but is also supporting my campaign because he's
Mm-hmm.
seen me reaching towards the practical issues that we need to agree on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, like, I think if people just need to talk to each other because there are forces who are trying to keep us in America divided. There is, and people need
Yes.
to talk to each other. I think people need to we have to check our own biases too, But we got to
Yes.
talk. But we got to talk to each other
Yes. And
and
I've been
um and
guilty
see
of
where we
that.
do have common ground,
Yeah.
and let that kind of drive us. And I'm gonna tell you, I feel like the democracy right now. I'm holding my breath that we will even be able to vote in 2026. I gotta. There's a
Hmm.
part of me is like because I don't follow all the crazy stuff going on in the news. Those are distractions. As
Right.
Rachel Maddow used to say, don't watch what they say, watch what they're doing.
Hmm.
And so behind the scene, there are some things taking place to undermine, even more so than what we see in the news, to undermine our democracy and take away our power as we the people. And so if we really want to have a democracy in past 2026 and in 2028, then
We got to
we
fight
got to
now.
start. We got to start talking to each other
Yeah.
across the aisles and finding the common ground and seeing each other as human beings and start talking to each other. We got to and not allow ourselves to be divided over bullshit, if I can say it, over bullshit. And I'm gonna say it too, and racism. That's why I said we got to check our biases. We got to get past our own racist tendencies, all of us. We got to get past that, past our own biases against the LGBTQ community, the Hispanic community. We got to get past that, and we got to just start seeing each other as human beings who
Absolutely.
all really want the same things.
Yeah, we do.
And otherwise, we will not have a democracy in 2026, 2028. We won't.
Yeah, not if I can help it. Not if you can help it.
I'm gonna do everything I can, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest. I'm worried now. I'm one of these pie in the sky people. I'm a pie in the sky person. I feel like I will fight when we can do. But I'll be honest, and I say it honestly with people. You know what? But I'm concerned. I'm concerned. I'm gonna do everything within my own personal power.
Yeah.
And my collective power with the resources and opportunities that I have to try to empower more people and educate more people. But I'll be honest, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about what's going to happen. What's going to happen past 2026, 2028.
Yeah. I feel like and this is a partisan statement, but I still think it speaks to preserving democracy, that I think if we, and with that said, the Democratic Party is the tool that we're using to do this. It's not the end all be all. It's not the only solution. But I think if we don't flip the House in 2026 and put the brakes on the current administration, it's over.
I agree.
And that's why I'm running. That specific reason is why I'm putting my life on hold, subjecting myself to the barrage of criticism and hatred that's going to come at me in the course of this, and running for this office. Is we have to win. Whether it's me or one of the other candidates, and we have some excellent other candidates in the mix as well, whether it's me or one of them, we have to win. Like, I don't feel like it's an option.
But I think it's time. Everyday people need to be stepping up. And we have somewhere. One of the goals I set for our strategy, and every year, I write a strategy for the year for our red, white, and blue team and here in North Carolina. And this year, I put a metric in to have at least 20, at minimum 20 of our troublemakers running for office. And we're up to now about 27. It's probably going to be more. And when I put that goal down, I thought, I'm probably lowballing that. I probably should have put 100. We got 37,000 women that connected with red, white, and blue in North Carolina. So putting down 20 is like, Janice, that's no faith. That's no faith. So I probably should have put 100.
And so we'll see. Though that's, if we get 20 people who are really dedicated and doing it, they're stepping up.
They're stepping up.
But what do you think?
And so I say that to make the point that everyday people have got to get in the fight. And if you're getting in the fight as, hey, I'm going to put my hat in the ring and run for office, then hey, as I tell every candidate and every elected official, thank you so much for your willingness to serve, because running for office and holding a position, a public office, is a form of service. And I always say that because I'm going to remind elected officials too, you're serving. It's not just for yourself to gain your own self-aggrandizement. Aggrandizement. So, hey, well, thank you for being able to put your name in the hat too. However the race turns out, it's an act of service. And so I appreciate anybody who's willing to step up and run.
For me personally, I'm missing profitable work by campaigning to try to get a job that's going to pay less than what I make now, where I'll work more. So yeah, it is a sacrifice, but I've been sleeping better and feeling better working 70 hours a week between my real job and my campaign than I would have if I weren't doing this, because I know I'm doing everything I can to save our democracy. So I feel good. It's funny. I thought I'd be really stressed out and that this would be hard, and it is really hard, but
it's hard.
It's been really inspiring and really good. And that's been a pleasant surprise for me.
Well, thank you for being willing to sacrifice. It is campaigning, it's a thankless job. Running for office is a thankless job. And sometimes being in office is a thankless job too. A lot of times people don't know what you do, but I tell elected officials that I know, hey, you need to be in front of the people as often as you can. Even when you get in office, that's when even more important that
absolutely
you're in front of the people as often as possible, holding those coffees and town halls and making sure you're in front of the people so that people can see you still human, and you can hear from them. Because not everybody is on social media, and a lot of marginalized people working because it's been set up that way almost to keep people poor.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep food, shelter, and safety. So they don't have time to watch MSNBC, CNN, Fox News 24 hours a day, or
Right.
be it a lot of the things that those of us on the choir are doing. So it's
Right.
how
Right.
to get to the everyday people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And my hope is to do that. I plan to do a pretty massive driving tour around
mhm,
Western North Carolina. Some in the primary, but in the general, really hitting
mhm.
up, firehouses, 4-H clubs, anywhere where people will listen, even if some of them throw rotten fruit at me. I'm going to go hear their concerns and talk to them and try to get them excited about Democratic leadership. Because historically, again, this is partisan statements, but historically, West North Carolina has been strongly Democrat. And it's just been the last 30 or 40 years that we switched to Republican because they've done a better job of promising to serve the rural needs. But it's
Mhm.
becoming more and more obvious that they aren't delivering. So I do think this is a unique opportunity to flip this district back for good, not a one-shot deal, but to actually bring this back in as a Democratic district.
People, and many people are cynical about politicians and the whole thing because people have been promised stuff that was
Yeah.
not delivered.
Mm-hmm.
And look at what Helene, me and some volunteers, we went up to do some volunteering up in the Asheville area and
Yeah.
Asheville area when Helene hit.
Mm-hmm.
But look at what was going on with the money, with not and holding back the money. Even the legislature, the extremists in the state legislature was holding back the money for Helene.
Yeah.
And then what the administration is doing with gutting FEMA. It's like,
Got him.
are you
FEMA.
kidding me?
And Chuck
Are you
Edwards just
kidding
standing
me?
there beside Trump and Swannanoa, a little bobblehead. Oh yeah, you're destroying FEMA. Yeah, all right, that's cool. Like, Chuck, come
You
on,
know,
man. Even your favorite Republican constituents are not going to like what you're doing right now. Um, yeah, it is just nuts. Like this shouldn't be political. We should all come and on a local scale, we did. I went out there with a bunch of liberal hippie kayakers and got into
mm,
these really red communities, and man, we worked hand in hand. Got together just like peas in a pod. Didn't care about our politics. We even talked about politics. We didn't care. We're out there on a mission to get things done. And that's what I want to do nationwide. I want to spread that mentality of Americans working against the common threat of the billionaire class, of their takings of our money, our tax money, our services. They're taking it. We need to take it back. And I think if I can keep circling back to that common message, I can bridge that gap and I can get us back our House seat, take it away from Chuck, who's really just a puppet of his masters. He is, the
well,
MAGA movement, the Trump administration, his big oil donors, his big corporate donors, they control him. They decide whether or not he gets reelected. So we,
as with red, white, and blue, our being nonpartisan, and I'm not here to I guess to endorse or condone one way or the other. I know I
right,
can tell you how many of my troublemakers feel up there because I've heard. And what's most important is how they feel about what's
exactly,
going on in the district. And
exactly,
I know they're up there
exactly.
fighting, to make
But
sure
I
that
but I
their
think the
voices are
idea of
heard.
getting the money out of politics and spreading the power back to the people
I
is
agree.
nonpartisan. I use Chuck as an example, but it happens on the Democratic side too. There
Oh,
are
oh
Democratic
yeah.
politicians who are incredibly beholden to their wealthy donors. I mean, you look at tax reform. There are loopholes that are set up for wealthy donors,
Hmm.
and tons of them. I mean, I paid 8% in 2019, and it wasn't because I didn't make money. It's
Hmm.
because the donors control the scene on both sides. And
Hmm.
this is something I've had some serious discussions with a lot of donors, and I've probably already lost $8,000 or $10,000 in donations because of these discussions. But I honestly
Hmm.
tell people, hey, your taxes are going to go up if you support me and I get elected because you're in this class who makes
Hmm.
money and uses these loopholes. And
Hmm.
by not being afraid to do that, I feel like I can cross these party lines.
I think being to thine own self be true and being honest. I think if people are honest, the people can smell when you just kind of
Yeah.
blowing some shit. Excuse my French. You're just kind of
No,
blowing some
cuss away,
talking
girl.
points,
It's all good.
blowing out some talking points. And I think it's important for politicians, for anybody running for office, just be true, be honest about
Yeah.
what you're going to do and so forth. I don't watch Joe Morning Joe anymore, but I
Mhm.
used to watch it years ago. And one of the things I
Yeah.
used to hear him say is that he was always he would just speak. He was honest about what he felt and how so. And a lot of conservatives didn't agree with him, and of course some Democrats didn't agree with him because he was a Republican in office. But he said how he always just stayed out. was honest about what he felt, what was going to happen. I think
I
I
think
agree with
America
that. Let's
wants
be
that.
honest.
I think we crave that right now. I saw a lot of that with that interview with Gavin Newsom. A lot of
Mm-hmm,
things he says, like, "Hey, this is my background. This is how I feel." And the gun issue is one. And say, "I love skeet shooting. I'm really good at it. Like, I like
mm-hmm,
guns." And he said
mm-hmm,
that knowing that that's going to hurt his chances in a Democratic primary
mm-hmm.
for president. But he said it
Yeah,
because that's him. So I'd like to see more of that.
yeah. Authentic. Can we have some authenticity?
Yeah.
Because people aren't dumb. People aren't dumb, and it
Right.
doesn't take a college degree to smell when people somebody trying to blow, trying to pull
Yeah.
wool over your eyes.
Although for some people it does. I mean, again, this is a partisan statement, but you look at Trump as an example. He is, he has a genius level ability to deceive people. It doesn't work for everyone. I don't see it at all. Like I see right through everything he says, but there's, something like 30% of the population who believes everything he says, no matter how ridiculous it is. So there is an exception to that, unfortunately. And that's
Trump's a
another
con
nut we need to
artist.
crack. We need to figure out how to get the truth out. We may not hit that 30%, but if we can hit the 10% on the edge of it and the other 15% in the middle, we're good.
There's some con artists out there. It was in my 20s, and I was working for the Better
Gifted
Business
con
Bureau.
artists out
And the
there.
motto of the Better Business Bureau was, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And in my 20s, I felt he was a con artist. And so, but a lot of time, and I'll throw this one on with that, I'll throw
Yeah.
a Bible verse on you too, because it
All
says,
right.
many will surround themselves by, how does it go? Will surround themselves by people who will tell them what their itching ears want to hear. It
Mm-hmm.
comes back, sometimes we got to
Mm-hmm.
think, okay, wow.
And I've
Because a
done
lot of
that.
times Trump is saying things that people really feel this horrible, the core, either racist or
Mm-hmm.
horrible intentions about people. And he
Mm-hmm.
just says it out loud. And so this is where I think everybody have to think about their own biases and so forth. And what kind of person are you? Now, there's some I believe the majority of people are in America are good people. That's just how I'm built. I
Yeah.
believe the glass is halfway full and not halfway empty.
Yeah, for sure. We
But I
have
think
to.
everybody have to think about, okay, wow, let me check my biases. I do it myself too. What are my biases? And then and think about our own humanity. Do we care about other people? Do we care about other people? Now, if I can say to myself, I don't give a rat's ass about other people. It's just all about me, me, me. Then that's okay. At least be real with
At least
yourself.
be honest with yourself. Yeah.
At least be real with yourself. But I don't think that's the majority of people.
It's
And
not.
so then it's like, okay, wow, am I willing to have a little less?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I tell. I live where I live. My life. I need nothing. I'm out here in Valentine. I'm in my own house. I have my little Honda Accord that's paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 degrees. And yeah, I pay a lot of taxes now that damn Trump tax cut thing came through. 2020, whenever it first passed it.
Yeah,
I
2017.
need nothing. I really don't. Now, when I say that, I'm not hurting for anything.
Right.
But my motivation for what I do is because I know there are people who do need,
Mm-hmm.
do have needs.
And I
And
think
so
too,
I tell them, when
the
people are, oh, Janice, you've done something. I tell people my motivation is because where I come from, Chris, and my family still lives
mm-hmm.
on the side of town in Anderson, South Carolina. It's not Ballantyne. It's
Right.
not. It's more like the west side of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my motivation. And so I think all of us have to think when we have, you have what you need, but man, I don't need 4 cars.
Mm-hmm.
My house, I got too much house that I have now, man. It's only a three
Right.
bedroom house, but shoot, I can get rid of some of this, you know.
Yeah.
But my
Yeah.
thing is not to center myself, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that
We can afford
is
to
the
be kind to each other.
humanitarian point.
Right. We can afford to be kind to each other.
We can
And with
afford to
that
be
said,
kind to each
I
other.
also want to try to escape the zero sum mentality. That, again, as a capitalist, my personal financial goals are furthered by a fair tax code that strengthens the middle class. My personal financial goals are strengthened by strong education. My personal financial goals are strengthened by a healthcare system that isn't inefficient, that doesn't have people dying left and right, that has people instead showing up for work, healthy, able to work. These are all things where I believe the Republicans have hijacked these ideas and said it's one or the other. You can have your money, you can have reasonable taxes, you can have prosperity, or these people can have these services. And it is completely false. When you look at strategic institution of government services, it serves the nation as a whole. Yes, it helps poor people. Yes, it helps people who are suffering from health disorders, but that doesn't mean it also doesn't help you. So this is something I'm actively trying to fight, is this zero-sum game, because it's wrong. 40 in economics are true. You look at economists, trickle up economics works, trickle down economics does not. And so that's another messaging thing that we need to be doing 24/7, not just in those few weeks before the election.
Well, I always think about Elizabeth Warren says, you need to pay your fair share because your trucks run on our roads too.
Exactly.
People,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
yeah. Is I have a hard time understanding the mindset of folks who just want to hoard more and more
Crazy,
stuff,
isn't it?
money at
It's
the
crazy.
expense
Yeah.
of people, and,
Yes.
and take it globally, at the expense of people around the world not having food.
Crazy,
I
huh?
just, I just, I just, that's just not,
Absolutely
that's
crazy.
not who I am. That is not who
Yeah.
Jesus was.
Right.
If I go from that
Exactly.
perspective,
You see these
and it's
people who
like,
call themselves
I don't
Christian
get it.
jumping up all hoorah excited about cutting U.S. aid programs that are saving hundreds of thousands of people in Africa from dying of AIDS and starvation. Like, oh yeah, we don't want to spend that money. It's dimes, it's nickels and dimes compared to what we're spending with the Pentagon, compared to
Mhm,
the oil subsidies,
mhm,
the billions of dollars we're giving to oil companies to pollute our air. And people are
mhm,
jumping up and down excited about cutting these benefits.
mhm,
It's not about saving money, it's about cruelty. And you're right,
mhm,
there is a cruel element of humanity. And it's terrifying
mhm,
that the current administration is loudly and proudly waving this flag of cruelty and getting people behind it.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
awful. It's just
Yeah,
unfathomable.
and I think about and I just bring it home in North Carolina. I remember in my going across the state and talking and meeting troublemakers in their communities and learning about the water issue, the lack of clean water in and down in Wilmington.
Mm-hmm.
We got issues that are going on in North Carolina. A lot of times it's not amplified. Um, it's so much is happening. But again, I just bring it back to our focus, trying to amplify our amplify the voices of our women around the issues that are important to them, and trying to help them, trying to make sure we amplify those voices and amplify these issues,
Yeah,
and
because it's easy to
empowering
get to
more and
talk
more
about these
people.
things on a national level and on this metaphysical, big picture level, but for most people, it doesn't have meaning until we bring it back home, bring it back to them.
Absolutely. 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 That's why our motto, Red, White, and Blue, our motto this year is when they go low, we go local. So
Nice, I like
we're
that.
using we're training our women how to use their local power, how their power
Hmm.
locally to have an up impact.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
Trickle up power.
trickle up power. I like that. Can you write that? Can I
Hmm.
use that? Trickle
You
up
do it.
power.
You do it. It's all yours. Oh, this is great. So, any closing thoughts? Any kind of one last thing you want to get to that we didn't get to talk about? Or
No, I don't know where this will be seen, and so I'm not, but I just what I will say. My closing comments will be, everybody, when they go low, we go local. Get involved in your municipal races, finding and those
yes.
municipal primaries. If you're on the progressive side, well, either side, that's when you have the most opportunity is in the
Hmm.
primary races. Make sure you show up and vote in the primary, and then make
Yes.
sure you vote for the general municipal races. And then
Yes.
talk to your friends and family about what's going on in your community and get them out to vote this year.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.